Welcome, everybody. I'm your host, Mason Sims, and welcome to the third episode of In Depth with Mason Sims. Boy, we have a treat for you today. With the licensing season just coming up around the corner in the next couple of weeks, we got a lot to cover. So, and remember, I wanted to make sure I get this out there to you. Your vote counts. If you think it doesn't, it does. That is your most precious right as a U.S. citizen. So, early voting actually started today. So make sure to tell everyone you know, friends, family, boss, anyone that you can think of, make sure to get out and vote. Now, with that being said, I have some guests lined up for you today, which I think you'll really enjoy. The first one I have coming on is former New Jersey Senator and also governor candidate Edward Durr. He is, as you know, he is a strong conservative, a MAGA supporter. And he's going to share some of his experiences that he had when he ran for senator, and also something else as well as he has a book that's coming out soon, so he'll go more into depth with that. And also, I have Julie Baker. She is on the Election Integrity Committee, and she's going to share with us some things that are currently going on to make sure that our elections are reliable, fair, and honest. And again, my name is Mason Sims, and let's get started. Good evening, everybody. Here today, I have with me former Senator Edward Murrow, who is also a candidate for governor. Those of you might remember him from he defeated the incumbent who had been there for almost 2 decades. And Ed, thank you so much for joining us today.
That be here, Mason.
Yeah, I remember watching the Tucker Carlson back when he was on there about you defeating him. So that was really inspirational. It's actually that's one reason why I joined or wanted to run for office myself, because I feel like across the nation that's definitely not a good time to be an incumbent, and especially with all of the stuff going on with the pandemic. And to my understanding, it was pretty bad where you were up in New Jersey, wasn't it, as far as lockdown
Well,
goes?
yeah, we have a Democrat governor, and he locked us down, and he ruled with an iron fist. And that one of the reasons I was able to defeat my opponent was because even though he was probably one of the most powerful people in the state, he went silent, and people didn't like that. He had all this power. He had been in the legislature for 2 decades. He'd been the Senate president for well over 12 years. He had all this power, and he didn't do nothing with it. And he allowed a lot. We lost 1/3 of our small businesses. We had people being arrested who went to funerals. Because
Oh,
they
wow.
went to a funeral, the governor arrested people.
Yeah, and my understanding, I think it was a gym. They kind of thought, I think it was like a Planet Fitness or something. They finally had enough of it, and they just started moving their gym equipment out in the parking lot because they weren't letting them stay open. Yeah, and that's one thing I disagree with my governor on. He, for the most part, was pretty good, but that was one thing he said was that we never shut down during COVID. Well, South Carolina did, but compared to states, like New Jersey and some states out west, like Oregon, there was no comparison. But like the way you mentioned about getting arrested just about going to funerals and church services.
Oh, it was the absurdity of it is you had to wear a mask to go into a restaurant, but could take the mask off when you sat down. So I guess COVID only affected you when you were walking from the door to the table and not while you were sitting eating. And you had to be in the house by 10 o'clock. So I guess COVID only came out after 10 o'clock. It's just the sheer thoughts of the rules they came up with was absurdity at the highest degree. And we should never allow ourselves to be, controlled like that ever again. And that's why, when you say, you got involved after hearing my story, and I'm glad to hear that because I hope that inspires many people to get involved. Don't let the aristocrats run this country. Let the people take it back.
Right. I feel like a lot of that's happened in Granville counties and where I live in Pickens County is a lot of the incumbents that have been there for a while, they've been facing a challenge and they've either come really close to losing or they lost their seat because people are ready for that change.
Well,
And
that's what happens. Sometimes people get a little place in their job and they need to be shaken up a little bit.
Right. So now, what was one thing or a couple things that you did when you ran? What did you run your campaign on?
Well, basically, since I was not fortunate enough to have a lot of money, because most of the money I spent came out of my own pocket. I know this storyline goes out there, and somebody told me never let the truth get in the way of a good story. But the statement that Newt Gingrich did on Fox saying that I ran on $153 is false. That was what I spent on my primary, only because I was not challenged in the primary, so I only need to spend a few bucks to get a few palm cards out. But I spent about $8,500, around $85 to $10,000, somewhere around there, which is still a drop in the bucket compared to my opponent spent $2.5 million. But you
Okay.
know, yeah, $2.5 million for a $49,000 job.
Yeah, and they must have really wanted to hold on to that power. Hold on.
Yeah, but it just was basic hard work. I went and knocked a lot of doors, got some volunteers to walk with me, and we just hit the entire area. And basically, I used Trump's statement. What do you got to lose? What do you got to lose? Vote for
Right.
me. What do you got to lose?
Yeah, and I'm glad people like you and Donald Trump have stepped in because it seemed like it was the same old, and I'm glad to see people step up to the plate. I feel like there's going to be a lot of good positive outcomes for our country here in the next few decades.
Well, I'm hoping on that.
Definitely. And so as far as your government campaign is concerned, I know that you do. Well, we do have an election coming up in the next few weeks. So after the inauguration, is that when you're gonna, yes, let's start hitting the ground running and start? But I mean, you have been going to forums right now, but are you gonna, yes, increase the momentum once the presidential
Well,
election?
that's it. I'm trying not to interfere with other people's elections right now. We have the presidential race, and we have a lot of local races. We have our own. My best friend's a commissioner here in New Jersey, and he's got his reelection. So I'm hoping they get him reelected, and get some other people reelected, and get some people elected for the first time. My son is one of them. My son's running for council here in my own town because he lives in the same town I do, and he's running for council. So, it'd be nice to get him elected, and that's my main focus right now is just helping other people. Come November 6th, the day after the election, I'll be full throttle. Now, I'm always trying to raise money and trying to raise awareness. So I go to different events. Like tomorrow night, I'll be up in Bergen County. Wednesday, I'll be over in Burlington County. And Friday, I'll be in Camden County. I just bounce around the different areas and just make my voice known. And then Saturday, I'm going all the way up to Sussex County. If you know anything about the state, that's like almost 3-hour drive north for me.
Wow. Yeah, and the last gentleman I had on here, he's a state representative. He said that anyone that wants to run for office, they need to be prepared that it's going to be a full-time job as far as
Yeah,
campaigning.
it pretty much is, which is hard to do given the fact that I still do have a full-time job. I still drive truck. One of the big comments was, when I had lost my reelection, somebody was, I guess, being facetious and just wrote on Twitter saying, "Oh, I guess you'll have to go back to driving a truck." I never stopped. I drove the truck the whole time I was in the Senate. I never stopped. I've been driving a truck for 30 years, and I'm proud of my time behind the wheel. Got 3 million miles clean.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that person understood. Like, the state legislature must be live in California. That's part-time pay. It's not like going to U.S. Congress.
Oh, actually, Pennsylvania's state legislator gets the average state legislature, the same job I was doing, could make nearly 200 grand.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I thought, some reason I thought, because that's not including, like, I guess, like, for mileage and stuff like that. I think for some,
Right. Per diems for the food allowance, mileage, and stuff like that, but salary and everything. So Pennsylvania is far cry above what Jersey pays.
definitely, I believe in South Carolina, it's roughly, like, maybe 11,000. That's not including, like, for per diem and all that, like you said.
For a state legislature?
I believe
Or
so.
wow, that's really low.
Yeah. So that's one reason I ran for county council was it was, convenience in my job. I still have been able to work and the pay was about the same, if not a little.
Right.
Yeah. So, I remember that there was a massive rally over in Atlantic City.
Wildwood. It was in Wildwood.
Okay. Yeah, how many people were there? Was it like maybe 70 to 80,000?
I think they estimated around 100,000, and it was unbelievable to be there and to see that rally. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
it was a great feeling to be there.
Yes, and one question I wanted to ask you too is, as you know, with Ronald Reagan, he ran against Jimmy Carter, and then again for his reelection, he won just about every state with the exception of two, I think like Georgia and Minnesota when he ran against Jimmy
Well,
Carter.
I think it was just Minnesota. I think he did win Georgia.
Okay. Yeah, I guess what I was gonna ask you is, do you foresee that happening again with Donald Trump? Because I noticed he's visited a lot of states, a lot of Republican candidates, one thing to go to.
You know what? I hate to be, I hate to make a prediction, but I gotta feel confident that he's going to do better. I did say to a gentleman last night, and I will make this wild call. I think he's going to win Virginia. Nobody's paying attention, and they just blew it off that it's automatically going to go Democrat. I think he's going to upset the people, upset the bookmakers, and he's going to win Virginia, which is really going to throw a monkey wrench into the whole works because Kamala's counting on Virginia. If she loses Virginia, it's pretty much over.
Yeah, and I hope so. I believe, was it George Bush the last time Virginia went red?
But
Okay. Yeah, I hope so. And I hope Trump gets back, Pennsylvania and Georgia. And I know they say he might lose North Carolina, but I have a good feeling that he'll still,
I can't see him losing North Carolina. I
yeah,
actually see him would be more likely to lose Pennsylvania and win North Carolina and then win maybe Michigan or Wisconsin to kind of flip the script. But that's all he has to. That's really basically what they're saying is he just has to win one of those three: Michigan, Wisconsin, or Pennsylvania, and he wins. And
that's
that's not
fair.
even counting winning Virginia. If he was to win one of those three, he should come out ahead on the electoral college.
Yes, it's just hard to believe that the election, is just a couple weeks away.
And here's the problem. I was just listening to the news. It doesn't matter. It's a couple of weeks away, and we're still not going to know because they say it's going to take probably a couple of days to tally up the votes. And I think this is ridiculous. When I was a kid, we knew who the president was the night of the election.
Right.
I don't understand how we can get more modernized and yet we get worse at tallying votes.
Yes. And like even like with Trump and Hillary Clinton, I think they did protest some of the election results. That wasn't really, I guess they wasn't really certified because they were going back and forth on it. But I feel like
Yeah.
20 was ridiculous too, just counting all these votes, having trucks come in and dump all these votes out. It just didn't seem like just to me, it didn't seem like a very honest election.
Well, it wasn't an honest election. If you ever listen to Mark Levin, he'll tell you straight up that procedures that were done in many states in 2020 were a violation of their own legislature constitution. All election laws are supposed to be done through the legislature. Arizona, Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia all changed their election laws without going through the legislature. So
Right.
technically, all those states broke the law.
Yes. And I will say, I feel like I hate COVID happens. I feel like Trump would have easily secured the second nomination. And I'm not really sure. I know there definitely was fraud in that election, but I'm not sure if it was enough to overturn, for Trump to win. But there was definitely a lot of dishonesty in that election to feel. And I hope for this next election, they get it sorted out so people have more faith in the election than they did last time.
Well, you know how the Democrats always go and prod us with saying, when we talk about Second Amendment, why do you fight? Why do you care about background checks? Why don't you just agree to background checks? Agree to background checks because, we want to make things safe. And okay, so agree to voter ID. We just want to make things safe. Democrats always seem to fight the voter ID, and I just don't understand. That's a simple process. Have a voter ID, and it verifies who's voting and when they're voting. Simple as that, and then there's no more complaints. Nobody can point fingers. But as long as you still have, discrepancies, people are always going to go and reach out and say, hey, this might not have been on the up and up.
Yeah, no, it doesn't make a lot of sense why they would not want to get out of, this. So I feel like, I mean, that's simple things. I mean, you need identification for a lot of things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So have you heard from President Trump lately? 'Cause I remember when you had won your election for senator, I saw that you had your picture taken with him.
Well, after I won my election, he called me on the phone. I spoke to him for about 10 minutes or so. And then later that following year, I went up to Bedminster and met with him. No, I haven't spoken to him since. I went, he was at the rally, and didn't get a chance to talk to him then. But I'm hoping to, after, hopefully, fingers crossed, he becomes the 47th president. And then after that, maybe get an audience with him, and maybe I can hopefully parlay an endorsement.
That'd be great. So how are your opponents as far as Republican go, as far as like recognition, I guess, strength of candidate, if you will?
Well, I would definitely say that the guy who ran for governor last time has probably got the highest name recognition in the state because he ran last time for governor. So he's known in every county throughout the state. I'd say it's a close second between myself and the radio guy. Because I was pretty well known throughout the state after winning my election because I had went kind of did like a victory tour around the state, went to a bunch of county, Lincoln Reagan dinners and got introduced to a lot of people. So a lot of people know who I am. And that's, always a good thing to have the name recognition.
Absolutely. And one thing that I remember we had talked about is you said that, when you're in office that you need to compromise. And I was curious if you wouldn't mind elaborating on that.
I wouldn't say compromise. I would say you have to negotiate. You never want to compromise your base core values. You have your base core values, but there's certain things that you don't have to die on the hill for.
Right.
Or, like I'm a two-way advocate, and I'm adamantly a two-way advocate. But I'm not going to stand here on the hill and die for constitutional carry when I know that most people don't like that. But I do believe we should have carry through issue of permit. And I do think that, there are some things that we can, allow to them if they agree to our terms. In anything, you can have a little bit of give and take because in politics, that's what it's all about. Nobody's supposed to really get what they want 100%. It's supposed to be a little give and take. And I don't have a problem with a little give and take if it's sensible, makes sense and it's good for the people.
Right. And I will say for the most part, my county is pretty conservative. I will say one thing. I feel like, some of them, I won't name names, but it's kind of like, their way or the highway. I just feel like that's the way to go because you're going to have to negotiate, know how to work with people. I mean, I know they say Trump is he's a, MAGA Republican, but I'm sure he has to negotiate at times,
Oh,
especially since,
absolutely. You always have to. Wrote the book on it, The Art of the Deal.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's that conversation we had. So I'm glad we had talked about it. And the other thing I was going to mention is you said that you have on your Facebook and Instagram page. You said you have a new book coming out.
Yes, I have completed my book. It's basically a guideline to my last 4 or 5 years, getting involved in politics right after President Trump had won his election. That's kind of what, you know, gave me that drive to get involved and my going through the race and then my time spent in office and where I'm going from now. And we're offering the book to anybody who wants, to donate to our campaign, edthetrucker.com. If they would donate to our campaign $58 or more, they'll get an autographed copy sent to their house.
That sounds great, and I'll definitely let people on my campaign team know, especially the Pickens and Greenville Republican parties, and also some of the clubs around the area too. 'Cause I'm sure they definitely would love to talk about it, especially the Greenville County Republican HQ. They may like to have a copy of the book or two.
Well, you just tell them, go right on to edthetrucker.com. It's very simple. Yes.
All right, that sounds great. Yeah, I'll make sure to reach out to them about that later on today. And before we go, is there anything else that you would like to mention to my viewers as far as your campaign goes, or anything as far as voting is concerned in the next couple of weeks for the election?
Well, the one thing I say to everybody, and I continue to beat this, people will say, "Oh, there's cheating involved. I don't think I'm going to bother vote." And this is what I tell everybody. Listen, I'm not going to tell you whether there's cheating or not cheating. What I am going to tell you is the only vote that doesn't count is the vote never cast. Vote.
Right.
Vote. And let the chips fall where they may, but vote. And here's the other thing. Because I were at a function, I was over in Waterford, New Jersey the other night, and it was nothing but Republicans in the tent. That's not who you need to reach out to, the Republicans. I already know how they're going to vote come November 5th. They're all going to vote for Trump. I need every one of them, and including you and everybody listening to this. I need you to go find that friend, and don't tell me you don't have a friend who doesn't like Trump, and convince them to vote for Trump. If everybody does, one friend, everybody who is Republican right now, who does have a friend who's saying they're not voting for Trump and turns them around, he wins hands down. Too big to rig.
Definitely, yeah. The middle of the road, I guess swing voters. That's definitely the ones that'll be the determining factor.
Right. You're just preaching to the choir when you're preaching to a bunch of Republicans. You need to get the ones who aren't listening and convince them.
Right. Now it's similar to when I ran for county council, because the state representative, he has done some great things. There's a lot of people that don't know. Yes, you say, care for him too much. And I was willing to elbow some of the people I went canvassing with because they were saying, I guess, negative things about him, saying, be quiet, because those people might actually like that person. And they just may not know, I guess they may not know the voting record and stuff like that.
Well, me personally, I try not to get in the mud. There's an old saying, there's only two things that happen when you wrestle with a pig in mud. The pig gets happy and you get dirty.
Yes. And unfortunately, I've broken that rule or two because I let this one person get out of my skin and I let him have it. But honestly, I didn't do anything because in that person's mind, he does no wrong, and it just made me look out to be the bad guy.
Well, you're young, you learn from your mistakes and you correct them and you move forward.
But yeah, that's one thing I'm trying my best to get over. It's just when I fall down, just brush it off and get up and try again.
Well, I mean, that's life in itself. It's the tapestry of life, You learn from your mistakes and you build yourself into a better person. I'm not the same guy I was 5 years ago. I'm not the same guy I was 10 years ago. And I believe I've gotten better as a person each time I've grown. I like who I am. I like everything about my life. So.
Yeah. And I appreciate, taking your time, your busy schedule off the campaign trail, because I know that you've been doing a lot here lately, looking at your posts. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on here. And what is the title of your book again?
It's called, I know it's probably backwards. It's The Drive, Lessons Learned by edthetrucker.com.
All right. Yes.
All right.
Yes, ladies.
If anybody wants to help me out with donation, edthetrucker.com, or you can check out the book. Pretty easy to find me.
Yeah, so edthetrucker.com. Well, that sounds great. Well, Ed, thank you again for your time, and I hope that you have a great rest of your week.
All right, Mason, you too. You take care.
Thank you. And that concludes our show tonight. Thank you all for watching, and if you haven't already, feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel and also on Facebook. If you don't catch us live this evening, that's okay. I'll make sure to have this episode published and edited soon, so you'll be able to see it more than likely on Thursday and Friday this week. Thank you all, and God bless America. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. With me is Julie Baker, and thank you so much for agreeing to come on here today. So you are on the Election Integrity Board, is that correct?
Well, I'm part of C-State Elections. .org. It's a nonprofit that basically works across the state. So I'm also the election integrity captain, I guess, for Pickens.
Okay.
So
So does the upstate, they have like quarterly meetings?
we have weekly meetings actually for C-State Elections. What's going on in across South Carolina? We're working. We work with our legislators. Each county, works with their own legislators. We try to sponsor bills. We go down to Columbia to, basically make our voices heard when we can. Fortunately, our legislators are not exactly interested in election integrity.
Yeah, I feel like, really don't feel like they just want to, hold their seat.
Yeah, they do.
And that's their top priority.
Yeah, they're just, it's really sad. I don't think we've found anybody who's really that interested in it. We found a few that might be sympathetic. Actually, Rob Harris has been great.
So you're working with Fresh Rice Shield Bill, is that correct?
Yes, I had to talk to Rex. I haven't touched base with him in the past 2 weeks. I need to see if he's filed it or not. So.
Okay. And I believe you said there was going to be something about this year about like changing the wording in the Constitution, like says you must be a South Carolina citizen.
Only citizens can vote. Only citizens can vote, as opposed to, I think the existing wording is any citizen.
Okay. So people are like trying to play the system. It might lead to people like say the illegals possibly to vote.
Yeah, but we have bigger problems because I know that South Carolina checks against the SAFE database, which is one of the federal database, basically. But there are so many issues with how, and I don't know if you've seen the America First legal work that's been done on that. They found some lawsuits about it, but basically, a lot of the states don't have the data that's really required to search it out appropriately. So it's not real. Plus, how they categorize folks in the database, they exclude certain folks. So certain categories of people. If even if you can search it, which is limited basically for states, we don't have the data. But even then, you actually are going to potentially not get everything. So you're going to potentially still have illegal voting in our elections.
Yeah, and I often wonder if, Californians will ever turn red for that very reason.
I think they could eventually. I think that if Trump gets in office and does what he says he's going to do, which is basically, start to, deal with the immigration issues and dealing with a lot of the millions of illegals that we have in the country, then we might be able to come back from this.
Right.
And be able to deal with it.
What's been really quite understanding with sort of immigration goes, he just wants to come in a legal way.
Legal way, absolutely.
Because there are people here that really want to do well for our community, or they
Good immigrants, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah.
You're built on immigration, legal immigration, but illegal immigration and unvetted people coming across the border.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
especially because, given the nature of when you start taking the money away from these folks, a lot of these are military age men, I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to get ugly. So if that happens, that's going to get ugly.
Yeah, and just, I don't feel like it's fair that people like Olga, she came in the legal way. She recently.
So you just got her citizenship.
Yes, and she was all some tears.
Yes. It's a great thing. My mother's an immigrant from Germany, I suppose.
Okay.
So you need legal immigration. You absolutely need to have it, and preferably you want people, though, that are skilled and, are bringing something to the country as well and are interested in, integrating into the culture here and into the, bring something of value to the country. If you just basically bring anybody because you want to import a new voting class, that's great.
Yeah, it's definitely not a election integrity.
No, it's not.
Yeah, and that brings me to the next point. So you do have a lot of security, or you have a lot of experience in cybersecurity. So could you tell us more about that?
Yeah. Actually, I just recently, I'm currently the chief information security officer for a local or a regional financial services company. In the past, I've worked in cybersecurity for Citigroup and TD Bank and Deutsche Bank on Wall Street in New York City. So I have a lot of experience. I've worked in cyber for about 30 years. So the background there is very helpful in terms of being able to assess the issues, cybersecurity issues with voting computers. Don't refer to them as machines. They're sort of a misnomer. So they are voting computers and not secure. So I don't know if you've been following anything that's been going on in Georgia, like a lot of the Dominion work. what's been going on with Dominion. They've been really exposing. They left the encryption keys exposed in the database in plain text.
Oh,
Yes,
that's the problem.
and they published the password. The keys, the passwords are. I don't know if you've seen the pictures of the Georgia the Patriots who are basically wearing the Dominion password on their t-shirts.
Right.
It's great. So they made a picture of Brian Kemp. The governor kept even knew what was happening. He took pictures with some of these folks. So
Hopefully, yeah, in Georgia, well, nationwide, but definitely in Georgia. Hopefully, it's going to be favored this time compared to last.
well, they've made a lot of strides and they have a lot of good people on the election board now, but not enough because you do have Raffensperger and Kemp actually actively fighting against the the election integrity efforts, and you also have activist judges who are doing the same thing. So it's still an ongoing fight, and a lot of it's still up in the air. They've done some really good things, but the as I said, the judges are fighting against them. Kemp and Raffensperger are fighting against them. So it's a problem. It's an ongoing problem.
Yeah, hopefully, as you said, you'll get straight.
I hope so. You gotta vote out Kemp and Raffensperger and get somebody to get people good in there.
Yeah.
So that's what you gotta do.
Yeah, a lot of people, there's been a lot of attacks from our brothers.
Oh, he's great. I love him. He really showed his true colors basically during the whole Western North Carolina after Helene. Oh my gosh, Helene really worked hard, at least from what I can see. Really, he's done a stellar job of trying to bring attention to the plight of those people and to really get out. So I really hope he's going to win. Hope and pray that he's going to win.
Right.
Yeah.
Sounds like it is. I guess some could say that it's negative, but I'd rather, somebody else not, be around the bush. Just, say what you stand for.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think that's I really hope he gets in. That would be fantastic.
It would be. Yeah, and I guess the other thing I was going to mention is, so basically at the outcome of the election, or right we had the election, what are some things that we could do to ensure that it was a fair process and we make improvements in the election?
I mean, here in this state or across the country?
I'd probably say, at least here in this state.
We really haven't been able to make a whole lot of, changes here in this state. Again, our legislators have not exactly been particularly helpful. Like I said, we have one or two that have been, are trying to help. Senator Rice is trying to help us, and Rob Harris has been helping quite a bit. So we do appreciate the support, but we are coming up against a lot of opposition because basically the state has spent they spent $51 million back in 2019 on the machines. They just spent, I think, another $26 million to upgrade these machines that we just literally like a few weeks before the election. With this level of investment, they just don't have any appetite to basically admit they were wrong. So that's part of the problem. They don't want to admit they were wrong. They don't want to admit they invested money in something that really is insecure. And I've talked and presented to a lot of these folks, and some of them say, "Oh yeah, we got to do something about that." They never hear from them again. And some of them are just like, "We're not going to do anything about this." So there's a lot of inertia. There's a lack of interest, and even though it's something of grave importance to most of the their constituents, but that doesn't for them.
Yes, are there ways that people can get involved as far as election integrity goes?
Yeah, there's lots of ways. Basically, right now, what I'm doing is I'm being a poll watcher. There are people who can be poll workers. I'm not allowed to be a poll worker because I'm an activist. But you can be a poll watcher, which is what I'm doing right now. You can be a poll worker. You can join scstateelections.org and start getting involved there. You can get involved in your county, or your, in Pickens County, obviously you can get involved in your county, you can get involved in Greene County. There's a lot of activities that are going on there where we try to either write bills, influence legislators, and try to bring, more pressure to bear on our legislators so that they can start to do things. The only thing that really gets these people moving is a lot of angry voters, and that's really what we need. So.
Yeah, and I'm sure people realize, if they don't get, accomplish everything they want to do, as long as they're making improvements, that's what matters.
That is what it is. But we need to, the more we can get people excited and interested about this, the more they can realize how bad things really are. The machines, and using the computers, the voting computers, is just terrible. And Elon Musk has been saying recently, I don't know if you've heard what he's been saying, but he's like, there is not a computer that can't be hacked. It just isn't. It doesn't exist. Sorry, unless you turn it off. That's
probably a lot of these people, Eastern Europe, are all over the place.
Absolutely. There's even in this country, all over. I mean, anywhere. There's hacker types every place. People who want to, break in, and people who want to interfere in our elections. And unfortunately, we make it all too simple. Like the e-poll books themselves have public vulnerabilities that have not been patched, and they're on the internet. They are on the internet.
Yes, and I spoke with kind of New Jersey Governor Edward Durham, saying that the national media saying even though the election is coming up, and other results for the next couple of days or so.
All the Democrats are saying that because they're preparing us for the future.
I just don't understand. Like we had back when the hanging shells or those paper ballots, we had computers that should make life easier rather than more complicated.
No, unfortunately, the only way you can really solve this problem is hand-marked, hand-counted paper ballots. That's really the only way. You can't. Anytime you use a computer, you just basically fundamentally go. You can do things to make it more secure, and obviously that's what I do as a job. To protect. You want to build as much security as you can, but even the big banks can. It's because you just they basically we have to be right 100% of the time. They only have to be right once. So it is the nature of the beast, and basically from a cyber perspective, we know that they will. If somebody wants to get in, they will. And so the basic idea is to mitigate the blast radius, to minimize the blast radius and mitigate the damage they can do, so you find them as quickly as you can. Unfortunately, with these closed systems and with there's no transparency, there's no ability to see any. We don't get logs. We can't see. We have no idea what's going on with the software. We're not allowed to test it fully. We can't test the source code. It is a black box to us and a vulnerable one. And we know from past elections, 2022, 2020, they were using vulnerable versions of Windows on these machines, with Mac that had not been patched for years. They just upgraded to the new ones, but even the new ones basically are 2 years out of date with some of the updates.
Right. And I've been saying with this election that the results will be what they think. So now they've criticized Trump for challenging the results of the 2020 election, but Hillary Clinton did the same thing.
Absolutely. In 2016, they did the same thing.
Yeah, sure. The U.S. the recount like several battleground states. It's just that same thing.
Well, you have to realize they're just going to say whatever is expedient for the moment. It's not like they assist to ethics. At least on the hardcore left. I mean, if you're a traditional liberal, I think that's a little different. But most the folks that we're dealing with, Hillary Clinton, these are either completely people with few consciences and absolutely no moral compass whatsoever.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully, we'll have a good turnout to the election, and it'll be fair.
Well, supposedly it's been. I mean, I've been poll watching, and I've been seeing massive amounts of folks at the polls for early voting. Generally, don't support early voting because it gives away too much information about how many states you captured. I know that Donald Trump and others have been supporting that, but I can't bring this to support this. But I understand if people feel they want to do that. It's up to them. Usually,
It's the same thing for me because the library is welcome to us.
it's like
So that really nice to where I live and where we normally do it on election.
that's true. It is rather convenient, but for me, it doesn't matter. But I'm walking distance from my voting, from my precinct, from my polling location, basically my normal polling location. It's a little further walking distance to get to the library, the Clemson Library. But it's been fun to actually the ladies at the Clemson Library who have been working the point. They're great people. They're really wonderful folks. It's never an indictment of those people. Those people, are doing the best they can with what they can control. They do well, especially if things can. But you can't control what's going on in the machine.
Right. It's an asshole, play they do get to back to where you can do paper ballots.
That is really big. Hand-marked, hand-counted paper ballots. We've done it. We've actually tested this. We have and I've been part of a team that's done this as well. So we know it can be done. You can take a precinct of like 1,500 people, and you can, I think if you estimate that about 1,000 of them come, you can count all those votes in 4 hours with I think a couple of teams of 4.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Not so bad at all. It can be done. It was done long before computers were a thing and getting the results. We're like the only country in the world that can't have same-day results. And also most of Europe, a lot of the European countries don't do computerized voting either.
Yeah, I just say I remember when I've been around too terribly long, like 2007, 2008, or so. They say their elections are really been at the time, but now that I've gotten experience with voting and actually being a political candidate, I know that person down yourself.
No, absolutely. You cannot rely on the results. I mean, unfortunately, if we want people to be able to rely on the results, we want to be able to trust the results. You can't. You just can't. I have no trust.
I agree. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of dishonesty.
There is, like I said, nothing to do with the folks that work the polls, or poll workers that are in, pickings or whatever. But when you're dealing with the computers, the voting computers, or in other states, the mail-in ballots, you're done. And the dirty voter rolls. Oh, don't let me get started on that. And ERIC, we're still a party to ERIC, so we need to get rid of, which is that third party voter registration. It's supposed to help us check our voter rolls and clean the evidence. Sorum's funded. They're, a lot of left-wing funding sources for ERIC, and we're still, and and the Legislative Audit Council, there was a report back in last January that talked about, that came out about that, and basically for that, we don't even though we get ERIC data, we don't use it. We don't even use it. So to clean our voter rolls. So we do not have the cleanest voter rolls here. But South Carolina really is not as bad as other states. I mean, we just suffer from a serious lack of transparency here in this state, and a serious lack of interest in anyone on the legislature improving that situation.
And I see the district convention when you won to get on that committee.
Mhm.
Have y'all been talking about, since you've been elected on that, have you been talking about elections and certain plans like that moving forward?
Basically you mean for the GOP chairmanship, the district for chairman?
Yeah.
Yes, I haven't done it. Actually about to get started with that. Want to focus a lot on reorg and getting numbers for that. I'm still working with SC State Elections on the election integrity, but these things tend to dovetail together because a lot of folks care very much about election integrity, as well as, basically getting people ready for, the reorganization and electing new leaders within our party, within our county parties, and, for our delegates for the county conventions and the state conventions. That's really what that's all about. So that's what I'm going to start focusing on as well, because that's all part of this.
Right.
It all ties together.
It does. Have you got much information on reorg yet? Pick a scale where it's going to be panels or the district?
They don't usually tell us until like just a few weeks before. I think that's what the state tends to do. So we don't necessarily hear from them. So we're not hearing anything yet. But we do have to start preparing for it and getting people interested.
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like for the most part, as far as getting people out there, it's advertised pretty well. The reorg we had a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah, that was done. I think that was handled extremely well. I'm assuming that's going to be handled well this time. I know that federally the chairman Pickens at least has started, kind of a reorg group who's going to start, people who are going to start planning it. So I think it's already in his mind and stuff. So I think he's already working. It's something I think across the board that we need to work and start, pull people together. So it's going to be important.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last thing I was going to mention is when you and Rhonda Billington went to the GOP convention, you had any experiences you'd like to share? I know Kyle told it's probably shared already.
I really had a wonderful time. I learned that Israeli flag all over the place too. That actually attracted quite a bit of attention. I think I was the only person doing that kind of thing. But talking to a lot of folks who were expressing interest. But I'm also I love Israel and I love to support Israel. So I definitely that was when one of the Israeli hostages' parents was speaking. One of me and another an Israeli held up the flag in the audience and stuff. So as support, but the RNC was great. It was just an incredible, right after, President Trump had been shot. And just seeing the cohesiveness and the unity in the group, it was just really amazing. Very, very cool. I was excited to be there and be a part of it, to be a delegate. So it was very, very cool.
Straight, that was amazing. Reporters.
Yeah, did a lot of interviews, talked to a lot of folks. So definitely had a chance to, basically express our viewpoints. Rhonda's very outgoing, so she talked to a lot of folks.
Yeah, I saw a thing might have been from Ron Stoss took a picture of Chuck Carlson.
Yeah, he was. We were pretty close. If you were sitting, when we it wasn't on the floor all the time, just basically because where we got placed in South Carolina was way in the corner. So actually, we had a better view sitting upstairs in the so we were right across from the stage. So that was a better location for us. So we tended to sit up there when we could. And I was down on the floor when we needed to be. And I shared my bench with Rhonda because she was an alternate. So she would, sometimes she'd go down on the floor. I would, so it was fun. It was a lot of fun, Rhonda's really the energizer bunny.
Yeah, she mentioned that you and her were going to get them somewhere. I think it was like an baseball diamond or something. Or somewhere like that. They were saying that you couldn't be there or something. That you have to go fix the plane. No.
Right, yeah, that was, we were wandering around and, oh, this is a great place to stop. And, but then they basically indicated that you can't stay here. But they let us take our feet out.
That's good, yeah. Rhonda said, I'm glad you at least got to keep your.
Yeah, we got bar food. That was important. But the RNC was great. It was a once in a lifetime opportunity to really go and to be able to participate in that, I think. So I'm really happy I was able to go.
Right. With my campaign going on, I have regrets taking my name off the ballot.
Steve, you would have loved it. I think you would have really enjoyed it. Plus, I think you would have met a lot of really interesting people. Everybody was there. I got to meet Larry Elder, too. That was a really cool thing. I've always loved it, Larry Elder. So he's great. And, just meeting some of the other folks in the, I think we met Ken Brennan, Christina Bobb, actually one of Trump's attorneys. We got a chance to talk to her too, but there's a lot of rather famous people. Rhonda was better at it, but she loves it. Energizer Bunny, very friendly, was meeting with everybody, having pictures taken with everybody.
He's actually a professional wrestler once growing up, and he is now mayor of a little small town in Tennessee. I didn't realize he was from Republic.
Was he there too?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. No, I mean, it was an amazing experience. I guess Lauren Boebert and saw Marjorie Taylor Greene, and it was just saw a bunch of Fox News people. But it was great. It was really a fun experience.
There's still some good ones out there. Yeah, there's some.
There's a few, absolutely. I'm glad that and to see President Trump, and to be able to hear him and to hear his speech and to talk about, what happened to him right after, basically right after it happened. It was really.
Right, yeah, I remember he had that bandage on his ear.
He did, and he was sitting like really close to us. It was, I mean, we could see him just without having, binoculars or anything. So it was great.
Yeah, I guess the last question I was going to ask too is, for the late Texas County, was it 24 total delegates this convention? Do you anticipate them having larger delegates or more delegates for this reorg?
I don't think so. I think it's based on the number of voters in the primary, and I don't think we had necessarily stellar, attendance in the primary.
They turn the primary. Yeah, I feel like they should do the general election.
They should do it on the general as well, but I don't know if we were really that great at the primary. At least from what I've heard. I could be wrong, but that's what I've heard. So
I remember a report out statement there. It was about the same. Things like about the same, kind of like a little bit less than it was last time.
yeah, so I'm not sure we're not gonna. I just hope we keep our numbers. We don't go down. That's the hope, anyway.
Right, and I feel like for the most part too, the average voter really now would focus on national elections. Like for me, like 4 years ago, I didn't even know who Gary Claring was. That was my state representative. So once I started getting involved, I started looking at state house and all that was.
Are you going to start thinking about running again?
I've been thinking about it. There is something coming up next year that I've been talking to some of my friends about. So
Okay, cool.
So it'll be an easier election because I guess it won't be as expensive if they're they'll be able to have the manpower to cover the ground.
And you also have a little the experience under your belt, also having done it once. So.
Yeah, definitely capitalize on next time.
Exactly. Well, doing a podcast and keeping your name in front of people, so that's probably a great thing.
Yes, and just getting acquainted with people, all over the country and parts of the world too. I'm excited about that. Maybe I can get on there.
Absolutely. I think that's great. I think you definitely want to encourage you. Like, you're a good man. You want to continue going forward with that. We need people to run for office. Good people to run for office. It's really hard to find them.
Yeah, it usually brings out the worst and people in the worst shape.
It really does. And you don't want someone who's going to get elected and then suddenly turn. This happens quite frequently because you're suddenly showered with money and other incentives, and turn their backs on their beliefs. So we don't want that.
And I know all I assume people agree with us, so, remember who got me.
Exactly.
Yeah, so is there anything else you'd like to mention to our viewers while we have you on that?
No, I don't think so. I think this is a good conversation. Obviously, we want to try. If anybody's interested in doing more, for election integrity, they could certainly reach out to me or to contact sesafeelections.org. Go on that website. You can join the Telegram chat and start to really see what's going on.
All right. And would you feel comfortable if I share your preferred email from the Bruce House?
Sure.
Okay, I'll make sure to do that on my Facebook and YouTube page once we end this.
People can always reach out to me. I'm happy to have that. Folks reach out if they have questions or they want to get involved more. Absolutely.
All right, well, that sounds great. Well, thank you all for watching. Hope you all have a good night. Good night, everybody. That concludes our show tonight. Thank you all for watching, and if you haven't already, feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel and also on Facebook. If you don't catch us live this evening, that's okay. I'll make sure to have this episode published and edited soon, so you'll be able to see it more than likely on Thursday and Friday this week. Thank you all, and God bless America. Thank you.